बहुत ही संक्षेप में मैं आप बताना चाहता हूँ कि हिंदी रटगर्स यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर हिंदी कैसे सिखाई जाती है। तो पहले okay, now English. That was it. So interestingly, Hindi has been taught at Rutgers continuously for more than 15 years, even though the South Asian Studies program was founded here only in 2004 by a group of senior Indian scholars here at the university. We've also been teaching Sanskrit continuously since 2004. There have been a couple of years when it wasn't instructed, but we have had a continuous Hindi lecture here as well. Even before, again, the South Asian Studies program was established, and even before the current department home for both Hindi and Sanskrit, which is the Department of African, Middle Eastern, and South Asian Languages and Literatures, was founded. 2 years ago, we began instruction in Bangla as well, and this year we've offered for the first time Urdu instruction. And Shaheen ji, aap mujhe bataye agar usme koi galati hai to main usko theek kar dunga. The Hindi program at Rutgers is housed in, as I say here, Amisol. This is a brand new department that was founded in 2007 as the dean, the executive vice dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, Jim Michelli, told us last night. I'll have a little bit more to say about Amisol because it really is, as I understand it, a unique department within the US. And also, the Hindi program is supported by SASP, the program that I currently direct, but that's been directed by other more esteemed and varished colleagues of mine in the past. Professor Shaheen Parveen is our primary Hindi instructor. She also teaches the Urdu courses. Next, please. So I wanted to just tell you a bit about what we do at the South Asian Studies program because we're always trying to expand. We're very enthusiastic to bring in new events, new speakers, to be engaged more directly with the community, to do things involving Hindi, either presented in Hindi or that have a programming component or that have an educational component that's delivered via Hindi. We host, our main activity actually is event hosting. We host between 15 and 20 events or co-sponsor those events each year, ranging from poetry readings in English, Hindi, Bengali, to philosophical exegeses on Indian philosophical texts, to very contemporary discussions by leading scholars from India, the US, and around the world. Just a few highlights. Last year we had 3 of probably the most renowned English language authors based in, or once based, we should say, in India, visit here and give book readings and talks. That was Salman Rushdie, Amitav Ghosh, and Arvind Krishna Mehrotra. Each were here. They had a very positive campus reception. So we were very proud to be able to bring these illustrious figures through campus. In addition to this type of thing, we have world-renowned academics that are presenting here pretty much every month, sometimes on a weekly basis. All of our events are free and open to the public. We're always encouraging community members from New Jersey and beyond, from our sister universities and institutions in New York and Pennsylvania and elsewhere in New Jersey, to come and attend. Besides kind of nerdy academic talks by most of the people. A few years ago, we had a week-long visit by Girish Karnad, India's leading playwright and obviously a very well-known film figure, who gave a number of readings and performances, attended classes, and had a couple of community workshops. This past January, we hosted the Indian ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. So we're constantly trying to move between academic, cultural, educational, community-based types of activities and programs. So if anytime anyone in the community in and around the area has an interest in hosting something, please reach out to me or our assistant, Martine Adams. I have my contact information at the end of this presentation, and we would be thrilled to coordinate with you going forward. We're very excited to do more events in Hindi because, as you can see, and I don't know if anyone mentioned this, but at last night's event and today, all of the students you see, these wonderful volunteers wearing their t-shirts, the orange t-shirts, these are all of our Hindi students. So you can see it's not just a group of 5 or 6 students, but I don't know, Shaheen ji can tell us, kitne vidyarthi hain is saal?
Elementary, I have 19 students, and in Urdu topic course, Urdu literature and popular culture, I have 15 students, and intermediate also has 15 students.
So kul milakar 45. So thank you to the volunteers. Just again, this is, we host so many events, so rather than trying to describe all of the things we do, I wanted to just highlight a couple other things, and then I'll get off the stage, क्योंकि मैं समझता हूँ कि यहाँ पे और ज़्यादा expert लोग हैं जो हिंदी शिक्षा में काम करते हैं, और ये मेरा expertise नहीं है. मैं भारत का भूगोल पढ़ता हूँ, in geography, तो ये उससे काफ़ी अलग है. This past year, we actually hosted 2 very high-profile Indian, literature conferences, international conferences on Indian literature, where one of my colleagues, Preeta Mani, in the Department of African, Middle Eastern, and South Asian Languages and Literatures, received funding, a competitive grant from the Rutgers Center for Global Advancement, as well as from the French Institute of Pondicherry, to host 2 very large conferences on studying Indian literatures as a field of comparative literary studies. Now, I'm dwelling on this because often within the field of literature, Indian literatures, when you study them comparatively, are referenced to Western literature, right? So you study Hindi in relationship to other European traditions, say English. This conference was specifically focused on kind of decentering Europe and taking Indian languages and Indian literatures on their own terms to think about what it would mean to develop a comparative method of Indian literary analysis. So bringing together experts from various universities in India, as well as the US, as well as Canada, and various places in Europe. We had scholars who were working on Hindi, Urdu, Bangla, Marathi, Gujarati, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, who met for 2 3-day workshops. So the first was held in New Brunswick in the fall of 2013, and the second in Pondicherry just this past December. We're hoping to produce a high-profile international publication that we hope will really shift the field in how it is that Indian literatures are studied and understood, both at advanced scholarly levels and in terms of everyday pedagogies, and hopefully connecting with language study as well. These are just some of the many things that we do. I think I've mentioned most of these things already, but just to give you a sense of the kind of ambition we have as a resource center located at Rutgers to serve both our students and our faculty, as well as the wider community. We often host visiting scholars and students visiting from India and other South Asian countries. We give annual fellowships to graduate students that are going to India to carry out pre-dissertation research. We work with and advise undergraduate and graduate students on how they can learn more about India, how they can study Indian languages more proficiently. And importantly, this is another real strength of things at Rutgers, is we have a huge, besides having all these great Hindi students and volunteers, we have more than 20 different Indian heritage student organizations on campus. Many of them are very active. We collaborate with those groups, especially around doing kind of dance performances and film screenings, and so we do have this close kind of student-academic tie, and so what we're hoping to be able to do going forward is to integrate more Hindi, Gujarati, Urdu, Bengali language programming specifically into student activities, because there is a strong, and I would argue growing, student interest in making use of these languages that they're studying in the classroom, that they've learned from home, that they watch on film, etc. One of the other things that we do is we received a generous endowment that was established in 2006 called the Chakra Endowment, that helps us both build our library acquisitions, both in English and in Hindi languages, for books, journals, periodicals. And importantly, and a part of that is we annually have a student paper award. Now, one of the things that I think is exciting about this is that we don't list the language within which student submissions need to be made. So if a student writes a paper in English, they can submit it. But if they write a paper that's in a different language, especially Hindi, because we have such strong Hindi instruction, students can submit a paper in that regard. So one of the things that we hope this does is it encourages students who are taking Hindi courses to also not just complete grammar exercises and work on comprehension and understanding, but also to practice and engage in the process of expressing themselves, expressing their own ideas, thoughts, and really building an expertise in that area. So the Chakra Award is one way that we see ourselves taking a small step towards encouraging Hindi outside of the classroom and beyond. South Asian Studies program, I'll move through this very quickly. We have a very strong leadership group, a number of Board of Governors, professors, one of whom, Professor Deepak Sarkar, I don't have their names, Deepak Sarkar on the left, and yes, thank you, I'm forgetting right now. We also, at Rutgers, the leadership more generally, we are in a strategic position right now where a lot of the leading deans and administrative figures at the university are very supportive of India studies and building our India ties more deeply going forward. So the brand new dean of the Rutgers School of Public Health has expressed strong support for working especially with our health-based programs, but also with the South Asian Studies program more generally. Professor Mukund Karwe has been a leader in the Rutgers India initiative and helping develop memoranda of understanding between Rutgers and other foreign universities. So we're hoping that these kind of leadership positions will help really build the profile and establish Rutgers as a leading center in the US for India studies and also obviously for Hindi. The South Asian Studies program faculty is a huge group. It varies each year as people come in and leave, but we have around 40 affiliated faculty from practically every school at the university. We have especially great strengths in literature and language, anthropology, religion, and philosophy. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, and these particular colleagues were here at the inauguration last night, but I think this is a great achievement of Rutgers that in 2007, this brand new department of African, Middle Eastern, and South Asian languages and literatures was launched. It's specifically dedicated to language study, understanding, and literature. I think it's a strong sign of administrative and leadership support for the strategic promotion of South Asian studies and language here at the university. The university has hired 3 brand new assistant professors between 2008 and 2012, all of whom have a connection with Hindi, which to me demonstrates that Rutgers is perhaps the leading university in the US for the study of modern Indian languages and modern Indian literatures in particular. All 3 of these new professors, Professor Anjali Nerlekar, Professor Maheli Sen, and Professor Pritamani, all work in Hindi and often do comparative film or literary analysis between Hindi, Marathi, or in the case of Professor Mani, Tamil. So this is really, I think, the leading edge of Indian literature and Indian literature, comparative literary analysis. So this is another, I think, sign of how students that are coming through the specific Hindi program with Professor Parveen have a direct tie into more advanced literary study and literary analysis. And so it shows also that students that studying Hindi isn't just about gaining language proficiency, but it leads into deeper knowledge and understanding of both Indian tradition, Indian culture, but also has professional future pathways that they can avail. So we do Hindi at multiple levels. Obviously, Professor Dr. Parveen will be talking about this later tomorrow, I believe, and you'll get to hear from some of the students themselves. We also have a number of graduate students that have been involved with Indian language study here. Each year, we have students that are recipients of the very prestigious American Institute of Indian Studies fellowships, either for pre-dissertation or dissertation research in India, or for the summer language courses or year-long language courses. So this year we have a student who's going, I don't think we have anyone going for Hindi, but we have somebody going for Marathi, and we're always encouraging more of this. The main pathway through which students can receive credit for their Hindi, besides just for taking it for general course credit, is that since 2004 we've offered a minor in South Asian Studies. Language study is not a requirement, however students can take up to 9 credits of foreign language up to 9 units of foreign language and count it towards the minor. We have more than 70 courses over the past 5 years that have been taught with an India or South Asia focus, which I think is a huge number, across really every discipline you can imagine that could have the title India in it, from in the business school to history. You know, we have a very popular anthropology course, which you can probably tell from the title, called the Anthropology and Food and Sex in South Asia. We have courses in art history, on women, women writers. We have more than 6 courses in the religion department on Hinduism, 3 courses actually on Buddhism, a number of courses on Islam, including Islam in South Asia. So we have a great breadth of courses. We have a minor now, and our long-term goal is to build a major. And there is indeed growing student interest in doing that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Next. We have Rutgers is a part of 2 different study abroad programs in India, which allows students to study Hindi in India and to return and get credit for it here at Rutgers. You can move, next slide, please. Also, just this year, the Department of African, Middle Eastern, and South Asian Languages and Literatures launched a new dedicated Hindi minor. So a student who goes through the entire Hindi course track, completing 22 credits of Hindi study and achieving advanced competency demonstrated by a proficiency exam at the end, I believe, can get a minor in Hindi. I'm not sure how many US universities have a minor in Hindi, but we from this year on have one. And this is one of the platforms from which we hope to build a South Asian studies major here at Rutgers, which would have a language requirement requiring competency in Hindi, Bengali, Urdu, or Sanskrit.
We also have minor program in Hindi at NC State.
Oh, great! Yes.
We also have minors.
So there must be a number, but. I'd imagine we can count them on a few hands. Yeah, so that's wonderful though. And here I'm just listing. I've brought a number of brochures about all of the activities that we have going on at Rutgers related to South Asian studies and Hindi more specifically. We have 4 literature courses in Amosol that discuss Hindi literature specifically. I have a few of the just posters here. I have copies of these posters also that I'll leave around in case people are interested. If you could just click through the next couple of slides. So Introduction to Literatures of South Asia, and also the next one, Women Writers of South Asia, which discusses, I think, the authors Manu Bhandari, Krishna Shobdi, a few others. In Hindi, Gender, Nation, and Literature in South Asia, which is being taught this semester. And finally, I just wanted to note some of our long-term goals. Rutgers has signed a strategic agreement with the Indian Council for Cultural Relations 2 summers ago, where beginning next year, we'll be bringing our first Rutgers ICCR Chair of Contemporary Indian Studies to the university. So we're very excited about this. We hope that this is a platform for future scholarly exchanges, and we hope that every year from now into the future, we will be able to bring a new visiting professor. This year we have Professor Binod Kadria from JNU, who will be joining us. He's an expert in demography, migration, Indian diaspora, and diasporic relations with business. We have a number of long-term goals. Our big goal, though, that I want to announce, and I have a booklet that I'm going to leave copies of around if people are interested in the future institution building work that we have going on. Our big goal, हमारी उम्मीद है कि 3-4 साल बाद Rutgers University के अंदर एक Institute for South Asian Studies बन जाए. उसमें बहुत Administration is very supportive of these efforts. We're working with the generous support of the Consul General, Mulay Saab, to think about pathways to achieve this end. This would hopefully lead to a major in South Asian Studies. It would lead to a dedicated space where we can involve the community. We can host visiting scholars. We can have hopefully a Hindi coordination or an outreach center to work closely with a number of organizations based here in New Jersey that are promoting Hindi education and learning. We want to have an annual lecture to build an endowment for PhD students to spend time in India every year. One more slide. Yes. I'll leave it there. माफ़ कीजिए कि मैंने ज़्यादा समय लिया आप लोगों से, और मैं बहुत खुश हूँ कि आप सारे लोग यहाँ आए हैं, और मैं चाहता हूँ कि अगले कुछ दिनों के अंदर मैं आपसे बहुत ज़्यादा सीखूँ, और हम और कनेक्शंस बन सकते हैं आप आपस में. Thank you.
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये सत्र काफ़ी उपयोगी रहा शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में, और ख़ास तौर से रटगर्स विश्वविद्यालय में जो भी कुछ हो रहा है, और उसके बाहर जो स्टार टॉक के माध्यम से इनफॉर्मल शिक्षण को जो एक अधिकृत रूप दिया जा रहा है, गैब्रिएला जिसकी चर्चा की, तो इस उद्देश्य को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए यह सम्मेलन एक भूमिका की तरह कार्य कर रहा है. इसके पहले कि आप लोग एक छोटा सा ब्रेक लें 15 मिनट के लिए, मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि सिर्फ 10 या 15 मिनट का ब्रेक लेकर आप आ सकते हैं, और अगर आप चाहें तो रेड लाइन कैफ़े में चाय की व्यवस्था है, पानी वगैरह ले सकते हैं, और आप यहां पे आ जाएं 15 मिनट बाद, क्योंकि हम एक नया सेशन जो कि डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र गंभीर की अध्यक्षता में होने वाला है, हिंदी फॉर प्रोफेशनल पर्पसेस, तो उसमें न सिर्फ बिजनेस एजुकेशन लेकिन दूसरे क्षेत्रों में जैसे कि बैंकिंग या फिर अनुवाद के दिशा में जो भी कुछ कार्य हो रहे हैं उसके बारे में 3 विशेषज्ञ बातचीत करेंगे. डॉक्टर गंभीर से शुरुआत करेंगे, डॉक्टर हेमंती बनर्जी, डॉक्टर आनंद द्विवेदी और कैटलीन डिएगोस्टिनो. उनके अलावा स्टेट बैंक के प्रवीण कुमार, मुझे पता नहीं कि प्रवीण जी आ गए हैं क्या? हाँ, प्रवीण जी हैं यहाँ पर. तो ये बहुत ही एक सघन सत्र होने वाला है, मैं अधिक समय नहीं लूँगा, और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप लोग एक छोटा सा ब्रेक ले लें, और हमारे वॉलंटियर्स जो हैं वो बाद में आपको ले आएंगे अगर आप देर करेंगे तो, ताकि ये कार्यक्रम जल्दी शुरू हो जाए. तो डॉक्टर साहब कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे आप? निमिष शुक्ला, माफ़ कीजिएगा, जो कि लॉर्डर स्कूल के ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट हैं, वे भी अपने अनुभव पर चर्चा करेंगे. शाहीन जी कुछ कहना है आपको? हाँ.
एक अनाउंसमेंट है, कल ट्रेस हॉल में रिसेप्शन पर कोई अपनी जैकेट भूल गया है, अगर किसी की हो तो मुझसे बात कर ले. वो हाँ, आईफोन तो नहीं मिला लेकिन वो जैकेट मुझे उन्होंने दी है. हाँ, थैंक यू.
तो एक जोर